think I remember this joke. There is an old joke when a person is driving to a very important meeting, so important that this person can't be late, and then there is no parking anywhere. He drives round and round, no parking, and then he says to himself, "Okay, God, I don't believe in you, but I don't believe it's going to work. But just in case, if I find parking in the next minute, I'm going to go to synagogue every week." And then suddenly a car is pulling out of the parking space right in front of him. He says, "Oh, okay, thank you. All is fine now. So forget about it." It's the reason I remember this is because I think all people would agree that there's an increasing number of people today that declare themselves as non-religious. And in fact, I found numbers that support this. 2021 was the year of the census in this country, and or in England and Wales. And this, for the first time in British history, in 2021 census, less than half of the population, to be precise, 46%, described themselves as Christian, or really, the 13% less than the previous census 10 years ago. 13% less. Non-religion, or non-religious or no religion, was the second most common response, and it was 37%. An increase by 12%. So these numbers, I think, need to prompt us, need to inspire us to ask important questions, difficult questions. What is a religion? Why do people choose to live what many call institutional or organized religion? Because I think people would still describe themselves as spiritual, just non-religious. I might be wrong, I don't have a data about that, but this is my experience. Many blame secular culture or science or challenge or changing values for this trend. However, as far back as in 1955, Rabbi Dr. Abraham Joshua Heschel, a very major figure in progressive Judaism, or in Judaism in general, wrote a book, God in Search of Man. And he, in one of the first, I think on the third page of his book, is this quote: "It's customary to blame secular science or anti-religious philosophy for the eclipse of religion in modern society. It would be more honest, however, to blame religion for its defeats. Religion declined, not because it was refuted, but because it became irrelevant, dull, oppressive, and insipid. When faith is completely replaced by creed, worship by discipline, love by habit, when the crisis of today is ignored because of the splendor of the past, when faith becomes a heirloom rather than a living fountain, when religion speaks only in the name of authority rather than with the voice of compassion, its message becomes meaningless." What is Rabbi Heschel saying to us, the synagogue people? I think he's saying that it's not enough to ask why people don't find religion meaningful. Instead, religion should transform itself and become a place where people feel they make a real difference. and places of worship should become places where people find meaning and a sense of purpose. I think we need to answer different questions. I think we need to revisit the essence of Judaism, its ethos, its mission, its meaning. What is Judaism? What is Judaism's central ethos? What do we offer to the world? If we disappear, in what way the world will be worse? Or will it be worse? What meaning and purpose can we give to people who come here? To find such answers, such an ethos, we need to return to the foundational text, I think, the Torah. What is the central message of the entire Torah? I think the more rabbis you meet, the more answers you will get. And this time, today, it's my attempt to give one of the answers. Let's take the book of Genesis, for example. It presents a very coherent story beginning from the world's creation to the details and the family saga, the family tree of Abraham and Sarah's family. This is the origin story of our people. The family with a revolutionary idea of monotheism. However, this story doesn't give you meaning. It doesn't give you the ethos. It's it's the origin story. And Los Angeles-based Rabbi Sharon Browns wrote an article saying that regardless of how consistent the Genesis story is, the Jewish people are mostly formed and shaped by the second book in the Torah, the book of Exodus. She writes, "It is the God of Exodus who teaches humankind to respond to injustice with hope, courage with determination. And it is the story of the Exodus that offers the most potent and undeniable counter-testimony to the reality of our world. Just when the darkness seems to eclipse any light, just when we are spent, ready to succumb to the triumph of evil, we are called to remember the great dream that was born with the writing of this epic story. Because the Jewish people ultimately is not a Genesis people. We are an Exodus people." So what does she mean? What does it mean to be an Exodus people? It is to stand with the oppressed. It is to demand justice, uplift the vulnerable. This ethos is central to our identity. In his Yom Kippur sermon in 1922, Rabbi Israel Matzak, the first rabbi of this synagogue and the architect of liberal Judaism, wrote this, or said this: "Let us not ask ourselves who is a Jew. Let us ask ourselves who is a good Jew. A good Jew is one in whose life being Jewish is a constant influence for good." The ethos of the book of Exodus is very simple. The story is very simple, can be summarized in just a few sentences. We were oppressed. We used to be slaves in Egypt. And then we were liberated. Because we were oppressed, we know what it's like to be on the side of the most vulnerable. Therefore, it's our duty to help others who are less fortunate than us, to fight for the rights of the oppressed, and to be kind. The most natural way to respond to the hardship that happened to you is to become. If you're bullied, the most natural way is to become a bully. But the book of Exodus reverses this dynamic. Because you were oppressed, make sure that others are not. In his commentary on this week's Torah portion, Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch wrote this. Our Moses was a human being, born to human beings, remains a human being and will never transcend his fundamental humanity. Why does it matter? We are reading the book of Exodus, and this rabbi wrote this. Why? Why is it important? I think he wrote this because every character in the Hebrew Bible, including every prophet, leader, monarch, is human and has good and negative sides. All of them, including Moses, made mistakes and were portrayed as imperfect. It means that every human being has the potential to reach the heights of Moses. To be Jewish is not to wait until God or somebody else comes and helps you, but to know that your future is in your hands. You have the gift of being made equal to the best people in history. And you can be as good as you allow yourself to be. I hope that our Judaism inspires us to live with purpose and meaning. Our Judaism can be a source of justice and compassion. Our Judaism can remind us that we are an Exodus people, called to make a difference and to be a constant influence for good. Shabbat Shalom.